Alright, everyone, morning. Welcome to another special edition of The Danny Show. I'm your host, Dan Cody, usually giving you commentary and reviews on all things wrestling. So, before I get started, thank you to all the viewers. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can be notified on all things from the show. And with that being said, let's get started with last night's SummerSlam review. The opening was pretty good, and we had Big E versus Bomb 6'6" trash bag Baron Corbin. Now I gotta ask y'all a question. I mean, honestly, I said in my reviews before that I hope Baron grows his hair in, but right now he looks absolutely ridiculous. I mean, for me, it's kind of a, it reminds me for some reason of the biblical story of the rich man and the homeless guy named Lazarus, and how the rich man was a jerk, and later on he was the one asking for help because he got thirsty. But no time for those type of stories. But either way, Big E defeats Baron Corbin, thankfully, and gets his money in the bank briefcase back. And I'm just trying to decide. I really love having Pat McAfee as a SmackDown commentator. I just can't decide whether he's a 6'6" trash bag or 6'8". On SmackDown, it was 6'6". Also, last night it was 6'8". Make up your mind, man. Also, before I move on, I want to tell you that this video today was brought to you by the number 3. That's all you need. 1, 2, 3. Darn it! But man, that was a heck of an ending. Also, RK Bro forms and defeats AJ Styles and Omos for the Raw Tag Team Championships. They answered one question, but they left another question unanswered. The first question that they did answer was, could they beat AJ Styles and Omos, considering Omos looks like he will be hard to beat ever. The second question was left unanswered. And the second question that was left unanswered is that can anyone take down Omos? So that's the second question that has not been answered. But thankfully, the strange duo of Randy Orton and Matt Riddle are successful. Now, I was about to compare them to Kane and Daniel Bryan, but Kane and Daniel Bryan were arguing for the early stages of their tag team relationship. I'm the tag team champions! I'm the tag team champions! I'm the tag team champions! Yeah, we all remember that childish stuff. The Undertaker would never be a part of such a gimmick, but it was still entertaining. Moving on to number 3. That would be Bliss defeating Eva Marie in a special match. Now, let's be honest. Eva, I don't know if wrestling is her thing. I gotta be honest. This is just my humble opinion. But I don't think wrestling is her thing. I just don't. I just really don't think it's for her. They tried it out several times. I was watching before SummerSlam 2021 last night came on. I was watching SummerSlam on Peacock, and I watched SummerSlam 2016. And Eva Marie was set to compete that night, but because the reason we were given as fans was she's suffering from depression and anxiety and whatnot, which opened the door for Nikki Bella to come back, and thus starting a rivalry with her and Carmella, the self-proclaimed most prettiest woman on the planet, which made me snore tonight, by the way, last night. So, Eva Marie comes out and makes herself a little bit relevant. She mocks Lily, which I don't think was a good idea for entertainment purposes, not for real entertainment. That was a bad idea. She paid for it. She got hers. And I have to say, I forgot what her real name is, but once I start studying her real name, that's what we're going to use instead of that ridiculous Dewdrop. That is the dumbest, ridiculous name I've ever heard in my life. I forgot what her real name was, but tell me in the comment section, because I want to use her real name. That name, Dewdrop? What? That is the stupidest name ever. But congratulations to her for standing up for herself. She does the announcements much better than Eva Marie herself, announcing Eva as the loser and thankfully not killing my good ear, because I got one good ear. And when Eva Marie, she may look great on the outside and stuff like that, but she kills my ear when she does her own announcements. Eva Marie, stop! Can I get a witness? But either way, moving forward, as she took her jacket and looked better. But either way, now we get down to serious business. A great with Rey Mysterio and his son versus the Usos. So this was a pretty interesting tag team match, and lately Rey Mysterio, who thankfully I don't gamble, because in my mind I was gonna bet that Rey Mysterio would start the show off. Instead, RK Bro did. He started SummerSlam 5 times. However, moving on, Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio versus the Usos, great tag team match. Earlier, Dominic paid homage to Eddie Guerrero with the 3 Amigos, at least the 3 attempted Amigos. However, it wasn't successful. But moving on, fun fact, Dominic Mysterio on that very day, it was August the 20th, 2021, is when SummerSlam last night took place. However, fun fact, on that very same day, Dominic Mysterio watched his father fight Eddie Guerrero, God rest his soul, for the custody of his child. And I gotta tell you, at the time the commentators were all on point. Taz and Michael Cole, man, they really sold that match, and they were somewhat behind Rey Mysterio because of the scripted heelish character of Eddie Guerrero. And if I'm not mistaken, they're true life friends, we all know that, but from what I believe I heard, Eddie decided to put himself in that storyline to help Rey get over, which was an awesome move. And the reason I bring that up is because I remember when recently Sasha Banks did a sit down with Sebastian on WWE The Week, and I remember making a comment and it said, man, she's such a cool person, I forgot she was a villain. And someone said it usually gets that way sometimes. What happens is a lot of times the heels will put over the good guys, and the good guys would be jerks. I have to say jerks, because what he really said was they were something that rhymes with the word stick. So either way, that was a great storyline, and Dominic was there. He was real young, like myself, right around the same age. I was 10 at the time, and so he got to see Eddie and Rey Mysterio in an awesome ladder match at the time, and Vicky Guerrero was there before she was all excuse me and everything. So that was great. But back to this match, Dominic paid tribute to Eddie Guerrero, but the Usos isolated him. Rey Mysterio came in and tried to get things going. 619 attempt went wrong. A super kick sandwich, as Pat McAfee put it, would open the door for one of the twins to go for the splash. 1, 2, 3, not the champions. Also, great to see Tiffany Haddish in the building. Becky Lynch returns because for whatever reason Sasha is out of action. I hope she's not sick or anything like that, but maybe it's a part of the script. I don't know. I say that a lot. When I asked where Scarlett was, I said, I hope she's not sick. I don't see Sasha. Hope she's not sick. I mean, Look what this pandemic has done to us. The first time people go missing, I'd start worrying if they're okay. Shush. Also, fun fact, I'm wearing a Las Vegas shirt because WWE was in Las Vegas last night. So I did a reaction video on Becky Lynch. I was very shocked. I'm going to tell you honestly, and this is flat out for real. I was shocked when that was the squash of the century. I mean, I was very excited to see Becky back. She had obviously been out of action because she's a mother now. Who's watching the baby? Because Seth Rollins was in action later on that night. Who watching y'all child? They must have a good chaperone or a good babysitter, for all I know. But congratulations again. She looks like she hasn't lost a step or hadn't gained any pregnancy weight. If she did, she worked it off real quick. She looks amazing. Still has it. But that was the squash of the century because Bianca was supposed to face Sasha. Sasha's out for whatever reason. Carmella comes out and puts me to sleep. Finally, Becky Lynch shows up. I'm interested now. And I did not see that coming. That squash of the century, I did not see that coming at all. I didn't see that coming. I mean, but we need to get a rematch because those two are going to make a heck of a rematch. That's going to make a great match. Maybe at Extreme Rules, I thought, according to how we've been doing things over the years, that the next pay-per-view would be Night of Champions. But ever since they mixed Hell in a Cell up at summertime, it's going to be Extreme Rules. So maybe they'll face off at Extreme Rules. If they do, it is going to be great, and I will be invested. So you have that. You have, like I said, the Squash of the Century. Then you have, what's that? Drew versus Jinder. That one was short. That one was a bit short. Interesting, but short. Jinder comes off begging, and Drew's not buying any of it. He tries to take control of Jinder Mahal, I'm speaking of, because after he begs, he finds a way to get control for a second and go for that kick that could be heard all the way at Mandalay Bay Hotel. But it wasn't enough to keep Drew McIntyre down as he goes for the Future Shot DDT and the Claymore kick. So 2 out of the 3 members of 3MB, again, this message was brought to you by the number 3. But either way, 2 out of the 3 members of 3MB went at it at SummerSlam. And Heath Slater, from my knowledge, is at Impact Wrestling. So, moving on, we have another good one. A fast-paced triple threat match between Nikki ASH, Rhea Ripley, and Charlotte Flair. It was a fast-paced match, but 2 of my favorite highlights was when Nikki ASH, jumped off of the top rope onto the floor, taking down Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. But Charlotte Flair outdid everyone because I don't know, it's not a corkscrew. It's kind of like the Whisper in the Wind, but more athletic. And it's ironic. We saw 2 great Olympians make their appearance that night. Congratulations. But Charlotte dived onto Rhea and Nikki ASH like she was diving into the pool on the Olympics. She should be in the Olympics. That dive, the way she turned her body and spun it while flipping, that was a thing of beauty. Hers was better than Nikki. And of course, took Nikki in. I was hoping Nikki would retain or something, but nah. We got to give it back to Charlotte. Charlotte is the champion. Some people actually liked it, but nonetheless, darn. I was hoping Nikki would retain, but not everything lasts forever. So back to Charlotte Flair. Woo! Is the winner and once again the women's champion. Also, we have Edge versus Seth. That match was awesome. I was so excited to see Edge channel his Brood days with coming out in red, which is now my favorite color, and then mixing it with his with his modern entrance. That was very awesome to see. Thankfully, Seth Rollins didn't go for any curve stomps because I was just watching that match like, watch out, don't go in for any curve stomps. There were moments where I got legit concerned because Seth went for a couple of neck breakers and Edge delivered a vertical suplex from a side suplex from the top onto the floor. And that one had me concerned because if you saw King of the Ring 2001, or you saw my review, you know that Benoit broke his neck in that same capacity. So I was very concerned for Edge in that moment. Thankfully, he didn't. Thankfully, we did not see any curve stomps. Seth Rollins kicked out of a spear, which had me shocked and had me more worried. But he went for a modern day version of his own crossface, and we got to see the crazy eyes again. This is the year of the roll up and the crazy eyes. And we saw the eyes. Seth Rollins tapped out. What a 5-star match that did not disappoint. To be quite honest with you, the next match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship was a little, not that much. It wasn't that much. Honestly, with all due respect, Bobby Lashley versus Goldberg, if Goldberg had not been injured, even before that moment, I thought that match would have. I thought The Undertaker versus Goldberg at Super Showdown would have been better than that match from last night if it had continued, but it didn't because Bobby Lashley totally destroyed Goldberg and injured him by throwing his leg into the turnbuckle post, which is something Brock Lesnar used to do. Keep Brock Lesnar in mind. He used to do that back in 2003, and he would injure Cena, Angle, a guy named Spanky, aka Brian Kendrick, and Zach Gowen. Wonder how he's doing. So the match totally wasn't a match at all. It was a massacre, and then Goldberg gets injured. But ironically, I noticed something. The fans were actually cheering Lashley and booing Goldberg. I think this probably wouldn't have been their best match, but I don't know about that. But they even cheered when Gage came out to stop the assault after the match, and Bobby Lashley put Gage in his full Nelson lock, which was originally made famous by Chris Masters. Nelson did great, and then the Master Lock became famous for a minute by Chris Masters, and then back to the full Nelson by Lashley. But when Goldberg gets better, this thing is going to continue for the simple fact that he put his hands on his son. And MVP denied that Bobby knew what he was doing, but I think he did. Now we get interesting. John Cena versus Roman Reigns. This match, again, I would like to reiterate that this match was brought to you today by the number 3. 1, 2, 3. I noticed in their promo tonight they actually did not leave out the Missionary Baptist reference because they have been muting that for a while because apparently WWE is still somewhat PG. I don't know. But either way, John Cena knew he was going to get beat up at that match, and boy did he ever at the beginning of the match. It was almost to the point where I was like, for a moment I was like, man, I ain't seen Cena get dominated like this since he built Suplex City in 2014 against, ironically, a certain someone who was making their return that night. So Roman totally owns the match, then taunts the fans and tells the fans that he'll kick their butt. And Pat McAfee reiterates what Roman's thinking when he when he scared the referee off like the Undertaker used to do back in the days. And he said, the head of the table says, you can get one too. Pat McAfee is awesome. I mean, speaking of Pat McAfee, I really enjoyed Nakamura coming out and dancing along Rick Boogs and Pat McAfee. That was awesome. But back to the match, Roman took control for a long time, which he has been known to do. Somehow Cena was able to fight back, but he saw that coming. He really did. He saw the whole thing coming and countered his comeback shoulders before he could go for the suplex hand and the whole thing. It didn't work the first time, but it did work eventually. However, I will say this. I'll say this for fun. I don't know why he still calls it the Superman punch. Roman Reigns calls it the Superman punch. I don't know why. He's a heel and he walks around with a Thanos glove. He needs to call it the Thanos punch. That's what he needs to, or the Infinity punch, the Infinity snap, but not the Superman punch. That's when he's a face, or a dislikable face, which is part of what pushed him to go heel in the first place, much like his cousin The Rock. But we saw a couple of Thanos punches, is what we're going to call it, but didn't work out. John Cena goes for an AA to the announce table, an AA in the ring, an extreme AA off the top rope. That was not enough. That's when I started feeling like I was watching No Mercy 2017, because all it took was 3 seconds, which John Cena did a whole bunch of roll-ups in the beginning, which ironically, what Cena did in the beginning of the match was what we saw throughout 2021. And I have to say, I'm glad to report that no roll-ups were given that night. No roll-ups. Hallelujah. That's a Sunday hallelujah moment right there. No roll-ups were given last night, but John Cena played mind games in the beginning before getting dominated by Roman. However, Cena found a way to come back. He messed up his hair. Did y'all see that? He messed up his hair. It was almost like somebody messed up Jim Carrey's do. No one messes with the do. But nonetheless, despite all the AAs, Roman Reigns kept coming back, and one spear, I know this was brought to you today by the number 3, but one spear took John Cena down. I thought John Cena was going to at least kick out of one of them, but he didn't, and I felt like I was watching No Mercy all over again in some way. No Mercy 2017 2.0. Both were great matches, don't get me wrong. But nonetheless, Roman and the Thanos punch and the spear wins the match. But that did not stop there, as Brock Lesnar, who last we saw Brock Lesnar, he was growing his hair out, looking like Mordecai. Now he looks like Mordecai on steroids, to be quite honest. And he came back, and my first thought was, how does Paul Heyman feel about this? For years, Paul Heyman has been an advocate for Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar would just do the Brock bounce and things like that. But Brock is obviously not done. I think when Brock Lesnar turns 60, he will still be taking people to Suplex City. That's much of a bad donkey he is to me. And so Brock Lesnar, I'm thinking Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns is probably going to be booked for Extreme Rules next month, September 25th. But wow, Brock Lesnar is back. I'm extremely excited. He looks different. I mean, last we saw him, he was growing his hair in and working at slaughterhouses making meat. But now he's back, and now he's looking to make meat out of Roman Reigns, the head of the table. And I'm telling you, John Cena couldn't stop him. If Brock doesn't get it done, it'll take an army to stop Roman Reigns. It really will. It's going to take an army to stop Roman. if Brock Lesnar does not take the title off Roman at Extreme Rules. That's all the time I got for you. And I'll be back tonight with NXT reviews. And I hope Karrion Kross wins. No, I'm sorry. I hope Joe wins. I got that wrong. My bad. See you later, folks.